guys, welcome to the next episode of the M&M update on the Natty Scene, which is hosted by your two M&Ms, not the chocolates, but the other kind of M&Ms, which are your other two favourites. AJ Morris and me, the Tiny Titan, Vicky Masita. So today we're just going to get into a couple of updates of how we've gone this week. I know that AJ has had an epic week, so we'll just start with yours, dude. How are you doing, and what have you been up to this week?
Cool. Yeah. Hey guys, and welcome back, and thank you for listening in again. And there was plenty of raving reviews as to us coming back last week, so I'm glad that we're back, and we'll be consistently recording every Friday. So you can expect to see these every Friday, which is kind of quite cool. It starts your weekend off, obviously with a giant bang. So yeah, my week's been epic with the new hoodies. So actually, a few people ordered them. So if any listeners that did order a hoodie, thank you very much. That's really cool, and I expect to see you repping them and hitting all kinds of shit up, which is like saying my story.
Why not? Jumping on the hoodie bandwagon, I've got some as well. So if anybody wants a hoodie of mine as well, you know, I'm going to do like a hybrid one, I think. So it says like Titan Coaching, and then on the back it will be #BeEpic. Yes. So that could be quite cool.
That'd be sick. So yeah, my week's been very, very good. So obviously the second week after deloading, so it tends to be that after your first week you feel quite sore, quite beaten up. Fatigue levels come back quite quickly post deload, and so that week of training was like essentially not amazing. So following it up this week was much better, like much more productive. I felt really good going into every session. I felt like I had some really good solid numbers in my head, because obviously with travel in America, being in all over the place, Christmas, I never really got like absolutely solid in place numbers that I was like, okay, next week I'm going to chase these numbers. So it was really nice to sort of have that, and have that goal going to the gym again, to sort of come out with progressions. And every session was pretty much that. It was progressed, and my squats finally felt really good again. So for context, like coming out of prep, I'd hardly squatted for ages, and so anything felt pretty hard and never felt good. It always felt like I was using my lower back more than I was using my quads. I never felt like I was in that groove. And since my body weight has come into the 160s, which I knew that as soon as I got into the 160s, it would feel better again, because that's where it felt like it went to shit. As soon as I got below 160s during prep, it was like squatting was just crap, and it really frustrated me. So I broke into the 160s this week and have been consistently in the 160s. So I knew that squats would be good, and yeah, they were. Like I got 160 for 10 reps, which is like not bad at all for where I need to be at the moment and body weight wise. So I'm really excited to see that come up, because like one of my biggest goals is to, well, over the next coming I told Jack it, and he was like, you can get that in like 2 months, and I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
So
I'm
one of my biggest goals, definitely by the end of the year, is to squat 180 for 15.
Fuck, that's a lot of weight.
Absolute, like perfectly. So 20 kilos to go, and I'll get it for 10, and then 5 more reps and I'll get it first. But I reckon I'll have to be pretty fluffy by that point, which is cool. I'll happily be fluffy, because my quads will be ginormous. And that's what you got to do if you want a pro card, right? You got to do that sort of kind of thing. So yeah, that's one of my biggest goals, get 180 for 15. So if I don't get that by the end of the year, then you can all bite my balls off and say that you didn't train hard enough, or you did something wrong. So yeah, that's something I'm working towards. And other than that, like pushing strength coming back considerably. I think actually my pushing strength is, or maybe not my pushing strength, but my pulling strength is pretty much at off-season levels, if not better than where I was in my off-season. So that's wicked. And yeah, other than that, all good. Obviously, the little things like aesthetically, you can see my face is filling out and things like that, which, to be fair, like I said on my story, I'm just not bothered about it at all. I've been bothered about it in the past, but once you get past the idea that you're still, I'm still in good shape for like 90% of the population, and
You're strong.
And I'm strong, and I'm not thinking about food, and I can eat plenty, and I don't want to step back on stage looking very similar. I want to look like drastically different. And I know that what I did last off season worked pretty productively. I just simply started too heavy. That was the only thing that I did wrong, in my opinion. And I got injured a few times. So goals this off season is to progress as much as I can, and while staying injury free, and set myself up well for whenever I next prep. That's all going well at the moment. So that's me, pretty much. How's your week gone?
Yeah, my week has been not too bad at all, actually. My rib is starting to finally kind of heal up a little bit more. I found it a bit strange because obviously it wasn't my rib that was broken or fractured or anything like that. I just popped some cartilage. But so that's the reason why it was obviously just a bit more painful. But what I found out was that if I lifted my arm up and took a big deep breath, it didn't hurt. But when I had my arm down and I was just breathing, it did. So I just decided to yesterday walk around like I was asking a question all day.
Oh, wow.
Just making sure that I was all right with that. I am joking, obviously. But yeah, so other than that, the week's been going good. I've got some more food in, so I've actually got past the idea of not needing protein with every meal. Because I have so many carbs now that I need to get into my system. Sometimes just rice cakes and bananas actually, go down a treat.
Yeah, sure.
And it was really funny because I actually took that as a snack into the gym. And I was eating it, and somebody was like, "Oh my God, are you not having protein with that?" And I said, "No."
Because they're used to you eating like an IFBB Pros intake of protein, pretty much.
Everything, yeah, exactly. So I did kind of have the rip taken out of me a little bit just for having rice cakes and bananas.
Yeah. 50
and then
grams off Jay Cutler, I think.
Yeah, I think it was, I think it was. Top that up with the essential BCAAs and everything, and then that was it. I was up there.
Pretty much with Jay, yeah.
With Jay, and I just didn't have the size that he
200 pounds off.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it? I was obviously doing something differently than Jay to not have his size, his shoulders, his glutes, his quads.
There was something missing, perhaps, yeah.
There was possibly something missing, and it did obviously get us thinking, and we did have a question in relation to this, which is what we wanted to discuss today on the podcast. Now, this question, it actually leads it quite nicely into it, doesn't it? Because, and I was just talking to AJ off camera in regards to me having a little bit of a down moment yesterday, and it actually brought up the same subject. The question came from Tom, and he basically asked about being surrounded by people who were obviously on PEDs or performance enhancing drugs. Did this ever give us an inkling into thinking, well, have we reached our genetic potential? Have we reached our natural abilities to gain as much muscle as we can? And have we ever been influenced or intrigued on how to, maybe try some of these PEDs? So that's what we were going to discuss a little bit more. So AJ, first off, what about your thoughts? Obviously, you're a younger guy, and a lot of younger guys now are actually walking around the gym stacked to high heaven because they've started introducing all these PEDs really, really early on in their days. So what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, you are now a natural world champion. Has it ever kind of crossed your mind when you're in the presence of mass monsters underground?
Yeah, sure. So I think I'll have to take this question back to when I started training. So when I started training, initially my goal was to definitely hop across at some point. It was funny because I was initially in a gym where that was pretty much the majority, and to be a natural was not looked upon as normal, or not looked upon as something that was competitive. So at that point I knew, fucking luckily, I knew about natural bodybuilding quite soon in my career, which is why now I'm huge about doing YouTube, I'm huge about doing Instagram, talking about natural bodybuilding and spreading it, because if I can pick up more young people and stop them from hopping across before they've even tried bodybuilding or had a passion about the gym, then that's my job done, because that's wicked. That's what I think a guy called Kieran, I found on YouTube. And funnily enough, if you now look at my bodybuilding career, it's funny that I found him, because he was a BNBF teen Midland champion that I found. He's the first guy that I started watching, and now I'm a BNBF teen and junior Midland champion, which is pretty cool, right? Isn't it? So
Cool.
If you start following me, maybe you'll be the next one. So, and Vicky as well, because she's the 2-time. So
2-time Midland champ.
But yeah, basically that's what I found, and as soon as I got competed in my first show, especially when I went to the BNBF finals in 2014 at the Echo Arena, and I saw the pro class with David Kay in it that year, I was like, fuck this, I'm definitely staying natural, because if that's possible, if that's even within any sort of potential reach, even with the most highest caliber genetics, I don't care, because I'll work as hard as I can to get close to that, as opposed to working towards something with the assistance of PEDs. Now, at that point, did I have anything against PEDs? Not at all. And I had friends that were definitely sort of hopping on them. The only thing that I would say, Vicky, that I have against, and that does annoy me about performance enhancing drugs, is that when people use them purely, like, completely recreationally, I just don't get that, because you're not doing yourself any justice with regards to health. And most of the people that use them recreationally are using higher dosages than people that compete, for fuck's sake.
Wow. It's because they're not aware of the dosages, though, are they? That's all it is.
They're not aware of the health side of things. In fact, like some of the most educated people are the competitors, which makes sense, because they do a lot of research and they make sure that they're using things well and accurately, which is obviously of the utmost importance if you do want to go onto that side of things. But with regards to how I see and how I view, like, the size and the strength differences, I'm not overly jealous, or I'm not overly in a state of comparison with that, because I know the differences. I'm clued up on why I look like a natural bodybuilder and why someone on PEDs looks like they're on PEDs, you know what I mean? And I actually find that one of the best ways to combat any sort of comparison issues that you do get is just look at what's achievable naturally. So look at, like, people your age that are naturals. For me, this, like, last year, big inspiration for my prep was looking sort of at Dan Park's prep and the condition that he got into, because I was like, well, if that's possible for a junior natural to do, then there's no reason why I can't do it. And obviously I got in pretty similar condition to what Dan got into, and that was all because I knew it was possible. So when you know something's possible, like, you just continually chase it. So if you know that looking like Brian Whitaker when you're, like, in your late 20s, early 30s, I think Brian's actually closer to 40 now, is possible, then you'll work your ass off to be able to get to that level. And that's what I want to do, you know? So setting a comparison that's within natural bodybuilding, I think, is the best way to combat the PED versus natural comparison and make yourself feel a bit better about your own progress. That's my opinion, at least. What's yours? What's your take on things? I know that you've had quite a few people in your gym that, like, are on stuff, and for me that's not so much of an issue in the moment. My gym's not really got too many huge people in it. See, when I was at Goals, it was a completely different story. Came home from Goals and I was like, immediately need to start a cycle. No, I'm joking. But
just walk in, I am dwarfed, give me the needle right now. But yeah, I mean, looking in my gym, everybody's on it. Everybody is on a cycle. Everybody is on, and if they're not on a cycle, they're on a cruise. And if they're not on a cruise, they're on what's the bit that you do
Blast.
one of those,
Blast,
you know,
cruise, off, whatever. I don't even know what it is.
That's it. Or you're taking some kind of exogenous hormone to obviously get your natural hormones back up to a certain level. PCT, thank you. For some unknown reason, I don't know why I didn't even remember that word, but I was literally talking about it yesterday. So yeah, like the majority of everybody that's in the 2 gyms that I work out of, because I train at Area 51, but I actually work at Elite in Stockport. All of them are, you know, they're on something. or if, like I said, if they're not on something, they're recovering from something, getting set up for something else for the next cycle. And the thing is that I get asked so many times, especially when I get shredded, what kind of drugs am I taking? And people ask me and they go, what substances do you take? If you don't mind me asking. So I just take the piss and I say, I just get on that protein. And they laugh because then they think that protein is a drug. And it's ridiculous. Am I safe taking protein? Well, do you eat chicken? Yeah, well, then you're on the protein, dude. Just get over it type of thing. But yeah, I mean, my personal view, I've got nothing against anybody taking PEDs because obviously it is part of the industry that we're in regards to bodybuilding as a whole. I'm not going to lie and say that it has never crossed my mind, just like you said, at the beginning of my career, thinking, well, is this obviously the only route that I need to go down in order to make the process work?
Sure.
And make the progress that I want to do. I've always been infatuated by women with muscle, but women with muscle who have shape.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between women who have muscle and women who have muscle but who are shapely and still retain their femininity.
Sure, yeah.
And I want all of the muscle, all of the shape, but I still want to retain my femininity. And there are some pictures that have gone up recently of a couple of people in my little circle on Facebook, and they're saying the amount of progress I've made is amazing and this, that, and the other, and they look astounded, but their face has been permanently disfigured.
And voice. You'd sound like me on the other end of the mic.
Oh no, you're still sounding quite feminine when I speak to these girls.
That prep estrogen levels.
That's it, yeah. So that is what actually kind of destroyed my vision of wanting to do any kind of PEDs at all, because you just naturally associate. The minute you start it, that's it. You're going to lose everything, and you're going to lose the shape, and you're going to lose your nice voice and various other things like that, So that's what kind of avoided me from doing it. Now, looking on the other perspective, it's annoying for me as a female, because don't forget, I've got 10 years on AJ as well, right? So I'm 10 years older. My hormones are different. I've gone through bad preps. I've had a bad history of eating disorders, which messed up my hormone levels and everything else. So my progress is, and I'm a female, if you didn't notice, by the way. So my progress is going to be a lot slower than AJ's, whose testosterone levels naturally are very, very high. He's got good hormones in order to lay down new tissue. He hasn't had eating disorders, and he's got a good mindset to be a little bit more, quote unquote, fluffy in the off season. So my progress is going to be a lot slower. So recently it has started to annoy me a little bit that the progress in areas that I want to bring up are not progressing in relation to my other areas. So, like, for example, my goal this year is to grow myself a decent set of glutes, a good set of glutes that I feel happy with and proud of walking around in my off season. So I'm filling out jeans, and then obviously when I get on stage again, I don't have any kind of loose skin because they're nice and full, and I've got a good booty package,
Yeah.
And I can finally be one of those bikini Instagram people who pose like this.
Yeah, and you'll need to be sponsored by like some BCAA product as well by that point.
Oh yeah, BPI,
yeah, definitely.
All the time. So, but that just isn't happening for me at the moment. And ever since I got off stage, my quads have blown up. My quads looking sick. I've put on 1.5 inches on my quads, and they're still lean.
Yeah.
And everything else is looking full and great, and I still look lean. But my ass, nothing. And it's just like, that pisses me off, because it's the simple thing that, and people just turn around and say, well, it's all right, Vic, just get on the gear and you'll have a good ass. And it's like, it
doesn't necessarily work like that, unfortunately.
No, exactly. That's just like saying, you can fat spot reduce.
Yeah.
It's like you cannot spot increase.
Unless you use synthol.
Well, yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
Or have implants. I like increased my chest within 4 hours.
I don't think that's appropriate in natural feds.
No, don't think it is it? You can get glute implants, but yeah, it'd be frowned upon. Illegal? I don't know. Does it actually say that you can't have butt implants? I think it does actually, doesn't
I'm pretty
it?
sure,
You can't
yeah.
have any implants.
I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
does cover sort of anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. That's funny. But yeah, so it did kind of, again, it crosses people's minds all the time, and especially when AJ brought up a good point actually by saying compare yourself to somebody who is comparable to you at the moment.
Yeah.
Because
If you're gonna compare,
definitely, because everybody's mistake is looking at these IFBB pros or people who are going into the Arnolds now and saying, well, they're the same size as me and I'm the same weight as them, and why don't I look like that? And it's like, because you haven't been training as long, your muscle density isn't as like theirs, your muscle genetic makeup is not like theirs. So, and I'm comparing myself to some girl who's 23 years old, training under John Meadows, going into the Arnolds in 2 weeks, who looks sick. And I'm just like, I want to look like that because she's 5'1". Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, okay, so the only thing that we have in common is that we have a vagina and we're 5'1".
Yeah.
Other than that, we have nothing else in common. So, and there's nothing to compare about. So you've just got to kind of give yourself a bit of a slap and say, right, find natural people who you are comparable against. Me compared to other 33-year-old natural people just in the gym. Yeah, I look pretty sick.
Yeah. Agreed. What do you think also the side of things, like what would your family think and things like that if you were to say, I'm going to chase this bodybuilding goal and hop onto enhancing drugs? Like, would you think they'd support that or not?
I'm very lucky in the fact that I've got a very, very supportive family. Sure. However, I know for a fact that Scott would not like it.
Yeah.
Because he's always constantly said, I love the musculature that you have, but I don't want you to get, it's the common thing that people say,
too big.
I don't want you to get too big.
Yeah.
And I get that, absolutely. I think my mum would be, for a different use of a better word, disappointed.
Yeah.
Which is like the worst thing ever, isn't it? It's just like, can you not just be pissed off at me? That would be fine.
Yeah.
But no, when they say I'm so disappointed, it's like, it's just heart crushing. So I don't like that.
It's a hard blow, yeah.
Yeah, so I think my mum would be disappointed, but I think she would also be there and say, listen, I'm here to support you in every which way possible, because she has been throughout my bodybuilding journey. And I think that does stem from my eating disorder, because she saw me in a hospital bed when I was weighing like 4 stone.
Yeah.
So to see me now weighing 7.5 stone and actually being a hell of a lot healthier, she's supportive of that, because it keeps me in check and it keeps my body healthy. And I've had that many MRIs, CAT scans, blood tests, various other bits, ultrasounds, to make sure that I am healthy, that, that's the reason why she still supports it. But yeah, I think people will obviously say something if I just decided to go down that route, I suppose. What about yours?
Yeah, for sure. I mean the same thing here. I've always said to my parents that I don't want to sort of go down that route. They're fully aware of that route, and they know that bodybuilding in a sense is there's two separate. That's why that's why I think it's good that you talk to your parents and you talk to your support network about what you're doing, and you actually explain what you're doing, because a lot of people, a lot of parents or family members and things like that will think bodybuilding and ultimately think performance enhancing drugs. They just think that the two things correlate. They don't really realize that there's drug tested natural federations where you can't take performance enhancing drugs. So talk to your parents. Like, I talk to my parents about my bodybuilding. I share it with them, and that's why they have an interest. And it's another cool topic that we could potentially talk about at some point, is like how to get your support network in, is always to share it with them. Like, a lot of people choose to hide their bodybuilding journeys away from their parents, especially if their parents initially don't agree with it. And I think that's a for most, it's a decision that they probably are forced into taking, because they feel like they can't talk to their parents about something that their parents don't support. But at the end of the day, if you start showing them how passionate you are start showing them how much you love it, if they're loving parents, they'll support it at some point. They really will. And they'll probably come to your shows, they'll ask you about your training sessions, they'll engage, they'll ask questions about that. Like, they're going to ask you questions when you come home from school, as whether you've had a good day at school, and regardless of whether you're passionate or not about it, it's something that you do, so they're going to ask you about it, you know. And the minute you start talking about the subjects perhaps that you like, or, you know, something at work that was good, they're going to ask you more questions about it, and they're going to want to share interest. So yeah, in regards to like how they'd feel, they would be exactly the same as your mum. They'd be disappointed if I went down that route, because it would be something that I wasn't, was never part of me. And also the same things go for how I run my coaching business. I've actually had, over the last couple of weeks, quite a few inquiries from people that are enhanced as to whether I would coach them, and unfortunately I have turned them away, which in some minds and I don't have anything against natural coaches that coach enhanced athletes. I don't have anything against that. I understand it, but from my perspective, I look at it as, one, don't have any knowledge on drug protocols. I wouldn't have any knowledge on drug protocols because I don't care about learning about it. There are some podcasts which I like Beast Fitness Radio and things like that they do, and Muscle Minds and things like that. They do talk about drug protocols. So I've heard bits and pieces, but I namely listen to it because of the other stuff like natural supplementation, etc., that they talk about. So that's number one thing. Number two thing is, I want to be a natural professional bodybuilder myself. I also want to turn people pro in natural federations. I also want to make champions within natural bodybuilding. That's what I want to be about. So if I was also about enhanced athletes, I feel like I wouldn't quite have my niche. So my niche is natural bodybuilders, and that's what I always want to be about. So even if and this is why most of the time when people come to me and they're like, okay, I want to do like a UK BFF show or a PCA show, and whilst I have absolutely nothing against it, I've actually put some bikini girls on the PCA stage, which I think was great. They had a good experience with it. I've had a few girls do UK BFF in bikini. I have nothing against that, but I'll also very much encourage that they look at UK DFBA, BNBF if their class fits, because I know that the MPA, BNBF, UK DFBA are all great federations. Like, I know they are because I've competed in them myself. And I'm lucky enough to know the people who run them fairly well, so I know how they run. I know what the lighting's like. I know what the day is like. I know what you get as an athlete, how you can be treated. You know, all of that jazz. I know that, and I'm aware of that, and that makes me confident putting in clients for the shows. So for me, it's it really is about sort of creating, I guess, a personal and a business kind of legacy with what I do. I don't want to create my legacy within two different regions, you know what I mean? So that's one of my biggest reasonings as well. It's not only from a personal perspective, but it's also a business perspective.
Sure.
I'm not gonna lie though, like sometimes I do look at people that are enhanced and I'm like, wow, like how strong could I be if I was using stuff, or, you know, what would my squat be like? But it doesn't interest me enough. I don't, and I really like a top class natural bodybuilder look. And if anything, I actually really like the fact that when I walk around, I don't look like I lift. Like when I came back from WMBF Worlds carrying my trophy through the airport, a security guard came up to me and said, like, that's not yours. Like, she told me that I couldn't have possibly won that because apparently.
So you flashed the abs.
I was skinny, and then she showed her a picture, and she still didn't think it was me.
Isn't that funny when you actually show people these pictures of you on stage? I had the same thing, not yesterday, but actually last week. And this guy actually said, oh, I didn't know that you competed, and you don't look like you're in good shape and that kind of thing because I'm wearing my baggy clothes. I was like, that. Well, first of all, how fucking rude, but second of all,
that's what I said to the security guard. I told him to fuck off. No,
that's it. No, you should do. You should get more of a Yankee mouth like I have. Just say how fucking rude. But I showed him a picture of me on stage, and it wasn't one of like the Fivos pictures either. It was just a picture that Scott took with his iPhone. And he literally looked at it and he was like, fucking hell, that's not you. Yeah, it is. I just have red hair. And I'm not wearing a baggy jumper. But people do not believe that somebody can get into that shape. And I still have people commenting on those pictures saying how the hell you did not place in the final is beyond me, because women don't get that lean. I mean, they're literally beyond belief that I could get that lean. But I think that's my secret weapon. And I think it's very, very easy for somebody to get lean using PEDs. But it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of box ticking to get that lean and that striated as a natural. And I think that's what kind of sets us apart from different people in a way, not just naturals, but enhanced as well, because enhanced guys, I was talking to my friend about it yesterday, Harry, big shout out to Harry. He made me smile yesterday.
Hey, Harry.
Yeah, he's amazing. Love Harry. But yeah, he actually said, the thing is that people who are on enhancements can do a 6-week prep because all they do is take more clem, and get that thing.
Boring.
And
boring, in my opinion.
And it's just like, I don't want to take anything away from them, because it is still very, very hard to get contest lean, even on performance enhancing drugs. But it's actually, if you take a step back and you're like, well, actually, comparing myself and you to what these other guys are doing, I mean, you went through like a 43-week prep. I did a 30-week prep until it finally finished, maybe a little bit longer than that, 32 weeks. And every single day we were ticking that box without any kind of thingy like, oh, well, I'll have a Chinese tonight, but it's okay, I'll just take it
tomorrow.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, actually, it'd be pretty fucking sick if we could have a Chinese every weekend and just kind of like take a shot or something and then go, whatever. But moving over from that, as a nurse, I have seen so many people come into hospital and have surgery because of a side effect from PD. And a lot of them were abscesses. And their pain tolerance after surgery of a drainage of an abscess, most of the time it's in their thighs. And again, it's just down to not cleaning the area properly, or just injecting it in the wrong place, or not going completely intramuscular. It's difficult, or it's continuous use in the same place. But their pain tolerance after they come up is absolutely abysmal. They're waking up in so much pain, and I don't know whether that is a side effect of having more performance enhancing drugs, that it kind of nullifies their pain response or whatever. I don't know. But I mean, if I compare myself to one of these guys, this is an abscess drainage, so all they do is kind of make a small incision, which is only about 3 inches, if that, and just literally let all of the pus and the infection drain out, give it a bit of a washout with saline, and then stitch it back up. So it's not a very invasive procedure.
Sure.
I had my breast augmentation. And I mean, these guys are like asking for tramadol and really high, opiates, high-level opiate drugs. I had my breast augmentation, which was a 4-hour operation, and I survived on paracetamol for 2 days. And it's just like, so whether I'm just hardcore and, I'm just, superwoman like that. Wonder Woman, not Superwoman, Wonder Woman. And that's the case, I don't know, or whether it's because I'm a natural and I've got a good inflammation response. I don't know what it is, but comparing to these other guys, I mean, the health markers they're terrible. And there was a post on Facebook again in the Gym Outcast group about a guy who's only, I think he said that he was 26 or something like that. He's had a heart attack already.
Fuck that. Wow.
And his kidneys are shot and his liver's shot. His hematocrit levels are high. If you don't know what hematocrit levels are, it means that you've just got too much blood in your system. So you literally have to, or too many red blood cells. So you literally have to drain off a litre of blood, into a bucket at home once a month and that kind of thing, just to make sure that your hematocrit levels are balanced. And then if you can't do that, then you've basically got to stop eating protein because you're just promoting too much of this growth you can't get rid of. So your ammonia levels are high, and that's what fucks up everything else. So there's a lot of things that you've got to consider before going on these kind of assistance drugs. And the one thing that I would really, really recommend, I mean, I've got a couple of assisted clients. I take no control over their drug protocol whatsoever. I do all of their nutrition and I do all of their training and they do all of their check-ins with me, but their drug protocol, I have a separate coach that I work very, very closely with, and I literally say, right, if you are thinking about PEDs or if you've had a cycle before and that kind of thing, first of all, you go and get your bloods done here. You then go and talk your protocol over with him. He will then send me the protocol and anything else that I need to be aware of that I need to manipulate your nutrition and training with. Because it's things like recovery that you've got to take into consideration when you're on performance enhancers, because they can actually train a lot harder for a lot longer and recover faster. Sure. Because of these drugs. And they can get a lot leaner, a lot faster because of these drugs. So again, your nutrition has got to be, fingered with. And the only reason why I train and I coach assisted people as well as naturals is just because of the simple fact that I'm fascinated by everything bodybuilding wise. And because of the fact that how much it can externally change you, not just in a physique perspective, but from a facial perspective as well, it just interests me from a medical perspective. But I, like you, I do not know anything about, I know little bits about PEDs. So that's the reason why I work with another coach who takes care of all of the drug protocols. So when you're an enhanced athlete with myself, you get two coaches for the price of one as such, which is fine and it's good. But, I'm just making it perfectly clear that I do not take care of any drug protocols because I just wouldn't feel confident in doing it.
Yeah, sure. I think I think you sort of wrapped everything up there really, really well. I think the only thing that we obviously need to potentially talk about and cover is, like, a lot of people talk about potentially the reasoning behind wanting to hop across is because they feel like they've reached a potential level that's like not surpassable as a natural. The reality is, guys, like what I think about that is exactly what I said earlier about people like Brian Whitaker, Siobhan Cunningham and things like that. The old David Kay, even the not that these people are old, but they're certainly older than the majority of the people that are hopping on at a young age. And the reality is you can make consistent progress into your late 30s, early 40s as a natural bodybuilder. And in fact, it's one of the only sports out there where you're actually hitting your peak at a pretty decently old age for a sport. Because, you see most people in the NBA or football or even things like motorsport and things like that, they retire like around about the age where a natural bodybuilder kind of peaks and reaches their greatest potential in terms of the total amount of muscle mass that they have combined with the level of density and condition they're able to achieve. You look at some of the older, even some of the older enhanced bodybuilders, the level of like that graininess and detail that they're able to achieve through the amount of density that they have through years of accruing tissue is just so much greater than someone like, you look at myself as a young bodybuilder. I mean, yeah, I've got decent density, but that level of like all round 3D total like grainy look that you only get that when you've built like tons and tons of tissue over years and years and years of hard training and pushing up your body weight, coming back down, pushing up, coming back down. It's a long man game. Like you have to play the long game with it. Definitely. to get to your peak potential, and that's what some people I think don't have. It's just that level of patience. It's fucking boring. Like for the most part, you look at your physique in a gaining phase when you're actually accruing that tissue, and day to day you do not look much different, and month to month you do not look much different. But the most rewarding thing, I'll tell you this, is when you've pushed up, you get to this point where you're at peak body weight, you start coming back down, you really get everything off, you get every little bit of fat off, and then you realise how much tissue you've accrued. Because even in a relatively short off season, if you push up well, you progress your lifts and progress your calories, you will have changed your physique. And you only see that when you start coming back down, that's fucking rewarding. That's it is so cool.
And I also just want to just throw in on there, don't let age kind of be a factor for you not starting. So if you start younger, then yes, okay, you'll have a longer career. But if you look at the UK DFBA physique girl, Danny Teresa, she's in her 40s, and she actually only started lifting 4 years ago.
She looks crazy though.
She looks sick.
She must have had a sporting background, I reckon.
Yeah, I'll have to ask her. I'm very good friends with Danny, so I will ask her. But she looks sick, and she almost inspires me to carry on going a little bit more, especially when I have some dark days, thinking, "Fuck's sake, I'm not making the progress that I want, and this is annoying me, and this, that, and the other." But again, I'm comparing myself to Danny. She's 1, older, 2, she's got denser muscle anyway because of the fact that she's older, even if she didn't train it, and she was training for 4 years. And she's taller than me, so she's going to look a lot bigger. So it's again, I'm kind of comparing apples to oranges a little bit, but she is a natural athlete, and she's closer to my age and my genetic potential than some of the Instagram 23-year-old lip pursing babes that you see on there with good lighting, good angles. But
crap anyway. They look crap.
Yeah, exactly.
That look doesn't interest me at all. It's just like what have you earned there? Like, you've earned that look by
2,500 followers.
by doing an exercise on the Smith machine that looks like you're fucking the air,
Yeah,
like where they start on their knees and they just fuck into the ceiling. Christ, it's just a pile of shit.
Funny, isn't it? I think we are going to have to do like a spin-off of these podcasts with just berating form that we've seen on the Instagram.
Yeah, and put little videos of it as well, like
and just be like, right, this is why this muscle is not being hit. My good friend Andy, he actually put a little rant up and said, "Do you think I grew a chest doing this?" If you're not watching this on YouTube, you need to actually watch it, because I'm literally just pumping the air and just moving my arm, and it's basically like all these bikini girls with the ass that they've got are literally doing that, kicking the air.
I do see one other correlation as well with like the sort of this type of people where they seem to lift everything with a weird like bob to their movements.
Like even lateral raises.
It's like this. It's like they're riding a fucking horse. I don't get it at all. Like, what is that? What is even on like something like a curl? Like, so look, like what the hell? Like, I think they may be used to when they start lifting any load, they have to use some element of momentum. So they've just cross-transferred that into everything they do. Stop it!
I know, exactly.
It's so annoying.
But you even see it on TV programs as well. I was having my chill time with Scott last night, and we were watching How to Get Away with Murder, and this guy was on there, and he was like, "Oh, lifting is the only thing that keeps me sane." And obviously they've got like that much glaze on him that he's going to slip down the living room floor. And he's got his plastic weights, and he's curling, and then doing, like you said, alternating curls, which aren't even hammer curls. They're not even, like supinator curls are nothing. They're just like he's lifting a weight, but then bobbing with it like this. I'm like, what's he doing? There's no music, and yet he's still bobbing. And then with the same weight, get this, the same weight, he does lateral raises, bent arms, like that, with a chicken bob.
For fuck's sake, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it just makes no sense.
I even said to Scott, why is he bobbing? Why is he bobbing? There's no need. And he was like, would you stop doing that? Because I criticise medical programs as well, where people are talking and they say, oh my God, I need to intubate. It's like, why? He's breathing. Why do you need to intubate him? That literally makes no sense. And one thing that I'm going to do this rant because I did it the other day and I actually made myself laugh because of how ridiculous this is. Okay. I want people to actually reply to this. Who is they? Right? Just answer that question. Who is they? Over the last week, I have had 4 or 5 clients say, they say, Who the fuck is they?
Oh yeah. What like they like basically create some individual that said something to compare something that they're telling you. Yeah.
It's the bro. It is the bro, right? They say don't eat carbs because carbs make you fat. Who's they? Is they a
It's
scientist?
these people are usually like general population client kind of questions, aren't they? Usually, I had that a lot when I was coaching 1-to-1 general population. No, like
Yeah.
they say I think it's their way of like these people of saying of saying something with an element of confidence. You know what I mean? It almost backs up their thought because they're scared to say their own opinion to you because they're unsure as to the actual way to do things. So they're asking you with the confidence that someone else has kind of made them aware of this idea, right? I think that's probably what's going on potentially.
Probably. But yeah, so if anybody out there is listening, if you actually know who they is, I would like to send they a message and say, stop doing all of these things that make people say they say this because you're fucking wrong.
Bloody annoying.
And it's bloody annoying. But anyway, I think we shall leave it there. So unless you want to wrap up with anything else.
No, I'm all good. Let's cap it here. Obviously, guys, thank you very much for listening as usual. We need to do our image for anyone who's listening on YouTube.
Are you going to lift up your Be Epic?
Oh yeah. 3.
Yeah, Be Epic.
Oh, 3, 2, 1.
Best part of the podcast. Every time.
It is that. So yeah, as usual, guys, thanks for listening. Give us a tag in your Instagram stories if you're listening on like iTunes or any other audio. And if you're on YouTube, take an image and whack it on your story as well. We always appreciate that. Any topics that you'd like to see in the next one, give us a DM on Instagram, either me or Vicky, or comment on the YouTube video. But other than that, we'll be checking in next Friday. Have a good weekend and have a good rest of your week. Vicky, got anything else to leave?
No, that's it, guys. Love you lots. Be epic. Stay in school. Don't do drugs.
Awesome. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Any questions, just ask. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.